Yo, we got so many burning questions to get into as the NBA season is just about here. Who's going to be this year's Detroit Pistons of last year? The team that was horrific the prior season and starts showing signs of light. There are always teams like that. Almost every NBA champion in history has gone through this transformation at some point. The 2021 Thunder started showing their signs of light. The 2013 Warriors doubled their wins from 2012. The Nuggets had 2 sub-500 seasons of Jokic before they turned the corner, and they've remained in the upper echelon every season since, which is proof that stability doesn't guarantee you more than one title. In the case of the LA Clippers, stability doesn't mean postseason success. No seasons below 500 since 2011. LA Clippers have been stable, yet 0 conference championships. Plenty of times teams buy a seat at the adult table. See the Heat, Lakers, or Cavs signing a prime LeBron. That's always going to be an easy example throughout history. But there was no prime LeBron in free agency. Closest thing we have is the Houston Rockets signing not prime Kevin Durant, but still an efficiency monster that hasn't played a meaningful game in a minute, but the entire world can just blame Bradley Beal for that. Still, the Rockets didn't buy a seat at the table. They grew up to leave the kids' table and take that spot. Take what they earned. Tari, Eason, Alperin, Shingoon, Jabari Smith, Amin, Thompson, homegrown and proven in the regular season, that is. Unfortunately, Fred VanVleet, torn ACL, which will put Reed Shepherd, their 3rd overall pick, into the spotlight. Or you could look at some players on their team as potential trade chips. That Rockets team was knocked out by the Warriors, who are still here. Jonathan Kuminga may not be, and even if he is there, he may not want to be there, and how can you trust that? But you absolutely trust Steph, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green, and if it wasn't for a hamstring, who knows how much more trust we'd have coming into this season. If the Dubs had been in the conference championship a season ago, I think the outlook may be a little different heading in, especially considering it's pretty much the same roster with some potentially high reward signings, although DeAnthony Melton and Al Horford would come with plenty of risk. Injury for Melton, who looked good for the Warriors in his 6 games last season before tearing an ACL, but again, just 6 games, while Horford's concern is, well, he's 40 years old. So I bring up the question again, who is this year's Detroit Pistons? It would have to be a team that has a legit star. After all, the Pistons have one in Cade Cunningham. I'd say the Magic could be a good possibility, but they wouldn't surprise anyone. The Atlanta Hawks could be another good possibility, but they weren't 14-win bad like the 2024 Pistons. So that's the exercise here. Sub-30-win teams. I'm talking like Jazz, Pelicans, Nets, Hornets, or Wizards. The answer for a team that turns the corner under 30 wins is the Philadelphia 76ers. But you didn't mention the Sixers on that list. Of course I didn't, because the Sixers don't belong on that list. In no world can they be worse than last season. Oh, well, it is very possible they still stink if Joel and PG continue towards this trend of being on the back 9 and heading towards the clubhouse. But let's not act like the Jazz, Nets, Pelicans, Hornets, or Wizards have a pulse. But for the sake of the argument, 2 teams at least have stars. The Pelicans are usually pretty decent with Zion on the floor, and he's definitely a star. Plus Jordan Poole, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones. If Zion plays a ton, you may see a little bit of movement, but is it more than play-in movement, and can Zion actually stay healthy? The other team with potential stars are the Hornets. Brandon Miller could be one. LaMelo Ball has the numbers of a superstar. Even if they are stars, they only steal the spotlight when they're surrounded by glue and capable role players. Otherwise, they're just players that fans will label as non-winning basketball players. And there's currently no glue in the Queen City. Call Elmer's. The Toronto Raptors have one of those players some would call non-winning. It's the player that was traded and his old team won a title immediately, Brandon Ingram. Toronto's one of those teams that has enough talent to where you may want to fire them up on the league pass early, see if they're frisky, keep an eye on them. But questions about how all these guys fit together could lead to a frustrating season up north, considering they have expensive contracts locked up for the foreseeable future. If the plan is not the right now, that they're competitive, then where do you go if you're the Raptors? The Milwaukee Bucks would like to lock up an expensive contract for their foreseeable future. Giannis is extension eligible in the summer of 26, and they know it. There was no waiting around for Dame Lillard to return. They waived his salary. They stretched it out. And so hello, Miles Turner. He comes in to replace Brook Lopez. Still, Kuzma and company weren't close last season. Why should a Miles Turner addition make us believe that they are contenders this year? The contenders appear to be very thin. OKC, Denver. I would have said Houston, but we got to see about that in the West. OKC and Denver. The Clippers, the Lakers, the Warriors, and Houston have a path, and the Spurs have some upside to be a threat. The Grizzlies appear to be stuck at the moment. The Kings have a wild hodgepodge of talented players that just don't work. And the Mavericks could be frisky if Cooper Flag is day one ready, but we know injuries have kind of derailed that situation for this season. But title contenders, I don't think so. Maybe if 2019 Klay Thompson suits up. The Blazers have enough solid players to see one of Shaedon Sharpe, Denny Avdia, or Scoot Henderson take a leap and lead them to that 2013 Warriors or 2021 Thunder where they're kind of on the cusp and they could be really good soon. You just got to see them play before you can claim anything. They haven't been good. On to the East. Oh, wait, I forgot about Minnesota. How can you forget about a team with back-to-back appearances in the Western Conference Final? A team that has Anthony Edwards. The Wolves, though, are in a tier of their own. It's the can we please get a little respect tier. Indiana is the East team and the can we please get a little respect tier. Nobody gave them a shot last postseason despite a conference finals trip the prior year. Sound familiar? The difference, this year nobody has actually given the Pacers a shot without Tyrese Halliburton. The Wolves, they still have a shot. The Pacers are much like the Celtics without Jason Tatum. Probably not contenders, you would think. So the East appears to be pretty wide open for the teams on the rise, like the Pistons, the Magic, the Hawks, or the already established like Cleveland and New York, and maybe even the Bucks can make some noise. It's ironic that the Bulls and the Heat are the only two teams that I haven't mentioned during this show, because it's a given that those two teams will play each other in the play-in.